Hey, what's up guys? Alex Espinoza with the Rickey Henderson of YouTube, back with another Rickey Report. It's been a while since I did one of these, but I'm back in the saddle. Last week I didn't really have time to do any of these because I was busy running around to a bunch of different games. From Tuesday to Saturday, I went to 7 different games, which was pretty sweet. I went to 2 A's games, 3 Ballers games, and then I went to a Roots and Soul game as well. So got a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel. Make sure to check it out. And of course, use the code RickeyBlog at lastdivebar.com to get 10% off. And use my affiliate link down below to help out your boy. All right, now we got that out the way. Also got to give a shout out to Hal. Great to see Hal this past weekend. And he passed the torch to Mike, the hot dog mayor. So we're going to try to get Mike on the podcast. So he doesn't even know yet, but we're going to try to get him on the pod at some point this week or next week. Talk about the passing of the hot dog torch. But this past weekend, the Toronto Blue Jays were in town. It was a really cool weekend. On Friday night, it was the F. John Fisher Fest. Got a video about that. And also Chris Bassitt, former A's starter Chris Bassitt, started that night. He went 8 innings. He only allowed 1 earned run. But the cool thing was, as he left the mound afterwards, he actually scooped up a piece of dirt and put it in his back pocket. So that was a really cool moment to see. You know, of course, Bassitt spent 6 years with the A's, and he now, after that outing on Friday, he now has the second lowest ERA in Coliseum history for a minimum of 250 innings pitched. Only Paul Lindblad with a 2.29 ERA is better, and Bassitt had a 2.36 ERA during his career in Oakland. So Sonia Chen of MLB.com was covering the Blue Jays this series, and she had a great little story from Bassitt, and he had a quote in it who said, you know, I don't know if I'll ever see this place again. And you know, a lot of people like to talk trash about the Coliseum or whatever, and I understand. I mean, I get it. People call it a dump, like it's falling apart. But Bassitt gets it. Bassitt loves it. He knows the history there. And this is what he had to say afterwards. He said, a lot of people will come here and see how bad Oakland's Coliseum is. And I just see people. I see Bomel. I see Olsen. I see Chappie doing stupid stuff. I see Semien. I see Pinder, Canna. I see all those guys. This place obviously is very, very special to me. Damn, man, I still think about, like, what if the A's kept that core together? Of course, Bassitt was part of that huge fire sale after the 2021 season. So this is back in 2022, right before the season started. I believe there was a lockout or some sort of work stoppage. There was like a really short spring training, so the A's had to trade everybody within a few days. And I remember being at Brooklyn Basin. The A's fans organized their own Fans Fest. Because the A's didn't have a fan fest, so they did their own fans fest, and literally just minutes after auctioning off some stuff from Chris Bassitt, he got traded, and then to the Mets, and now he's on the Blue Jays. But man, I still remember that moment for A's fans. That was tough. So that was really cool on Friday night to see Bassitt do that and, you know, show respect for the A's. And the next day it was really cool too. He also brought some of his teammates. They went on a hike up to Mount Davis just to go check it out and take a look. And the Blue Jays social media team shared some really cool photos from their steps up there in Mount Davis. So really cool to see. Shout out to Chris Bassitt for doing this. And he wasn't the only one, you know, kind of showing love. I mean, the Blue Jays broadcast as well showed a little bit of love as well. I don't know how much I can show because if I put on too much, YouTube's going to flag the content, but I'll try to drop a little clip right here.
Instead of a boycott night, they have what they call a reverse boycott night. There it is. There it is. Sell the team. You'll hear a lot of that and see a lot of that.
And the Padres are also doing it as well. So the A's are down in San Diego, and the Padres broadcast team also said it's a shame what's happening in Oakland.
It's a darn shame that this franchise is going to be leaving Oakland. The storied franchise of the swinging A's.
So shout out to Q Cortez and Last Dive Bar for clipping out all these things and sharing them. I'm usually watching the A's broadcast, so I don't see this stuff. So, but you've pretty much noticed the past month, pretty much this whole season, ever since the whole Sacramento thing was announced, pretty much every broadcast crew that the A's go against, they do some nice touching, oh man, this sucks is what's happening, and they celebrate the A's history, and the A's still have not really acknowledged anything. I mean, on Sunday they had Mark Mulder and Tim Hudson come there for their first Alumni Sunday, so they threw out the first pitch along with Ramon Hernandez, and they did in-game interviews and stuff like that, but they really haven't, you know, acknowledged the fans that they're leaving behind after 56 years, 57 years. So, but I guess on Friday night, it was kind of a mention. Chris Carey, the A's play-by-play announcer, made a slight mention to the sell the team chants. And Dallas Braden, of course, we know how we assume how he really feels, but he can't really say anything. They mentioned a little bit, but yeah. So that was the first time I can recall during the sell the team chants on Friday night that I remember the A's broadcast kind of acknowledging it. They even, panned back a little bit and showed the whole crowd.
The Oakland faithful showing their passion.
Little bit there. I wonder if John Fisher was watching on TV. He's like, God damn it. Another hilarious thing that happened during this series is that there was a collision that you'll never see anywhere but the Coliseum because they're the only stadium without railings in front of the dugout. But during a foul ball, Yusei Kikuchi, a pitcher for the Blue Jays, collided with Tyler Soderstrom, and I just love Bassitt's reaction to that. So shout out to Chris Bassitt and the Blue Jays. That was a fun series. Even if the A's only won one game, they won on Friday night. They won the walk-off 2-1 on J.J. Bleday's dinger. That was pretty cool, but it's been pretty rough for the A's lately. So it's also been rough for the A's, and took another PR hit this week as The Athletic published its annual anonymous player poll where they go around locker rooms, and I think this year they polled over 100 players, and players didn't answer every question, so they can, if they don't want to answer, they don't have to. But surprise, surprise, the A's do not have a great reputation around the league. So The Athletic, as I said, they polled all these players, and they got 79 responses to the question, what organizations have bad reputations among players? And 40 of them voted the A's. So that's over half. And I guess it's no surprise, just given the fact that John Fisher hasn't signed a big free agent. I think Billy Butler was the biggest thing, 3 years, $30 million, and the biggest contract extension he signed was 2 years, $33.5 million to Chris Davis, and he didn't even play out that second year. So Fisher is not giving out more than like 30 some odd millions. Cespedes was 4 years, $36 million, but of course he didn't make it through that whole deal either. So, and then The Athletic also shared some anonymous quotes, and they said, have you seen what they're doing to the city of Oakland and their fans? It doesn't seem like they want to win. I've heard Oakland is pretty rough. And Sacramento for 3 years, I've been to that ballpark before. They can't find something better. So I honestly thought it would be a little worse. I thought they would be talking more mess about it, but I think at this point everybody just knows that the A's are a dumpster fire. Nobody wants to go there. And, the White Sox also have a bad reputation on this poll, but it's still the A's are more than double. I think the White Sox got 19 votes to the A's 40, so the A's are twice as bad as the White Sox. And, it's obvious if you're a player there that you're not going to get paid. If basically the A's, like most organizations, they treat arbitration as this time where, okay, we got these people at market rate, if not cheaper than market rate, after having some great years with them on their initial contracts, and we'll hold on to them. But for the A's, it's like once they hit arbitration, it's like a lot of dudes are done. The example that always sticks out to me is Josh Donaldson, who was entering his first year of arbitration in 2015, and of course he won the MVP that year in that trade. I think that's even worse than the Cespedes trade. That Donaldson trade might go down as Billy Bean's worst of all time. But anyways, just groveling about old stuff here. And another thing too is that they're just so severely understaffed and they don't have good facilities. The people that they do hire are awesome. I don't want to talk anything bad about the people that they do hire. They're really, really cool people. I've got to know a lot of them behind the scenes over the past decade or so. But they're so understaffed. There's not really much of a support staff. And I remember hearing quotes from players like Marcus Semien and Chris Bassitt when they leave. They're like, "Oh, this is what it's like in a real Major League Baseball club. Like, oh, we just have we have a lot more resources than the A's. Something to that effect." So, not really any surprise here at all. And I also thought it was interesting, too, The Athletic asked another question during this poll. It said, which team would you sign with if contracts, state taxes, and rosters were not a factor? So if everything was equal. And there were 86 votes on this poll, and the A's were one of 5 teams that did not receive votes, including the White Sox, the Rockies, the Tigers, the Royals, and the A's. So I think those were it's only 86 votes. It's not the whole league, but I would say maybe that's kind of your baseline of the organizations that people don't want to play for or go to. So, interesting to see, but no surprise here. Nobody wants to play for John Fisher. good luck in Sacramento, where the facilities are even going to get worse and smaller, and the field is going to be turf, 105 degrees in the summer in Sacramento. So don't know how they're going to be rolling into Las Vegas if they ever do get to Vegas with a competitive squad. But anyway, speaking of Vegas, I think it's time to talk about Mick Akers' coverage in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So Mick has been pretty locked in with the A's coverage since 2021. That's when pretty much every time Dave Kaval had a meeting or he went down to Vegas, he would call up Mick Akers to make sure he knew about it, and Akers would write an article. Everybody would hear about it back in the Bay Area, yada, yada, yada. And so Akers recently, so he's been, throughout the past couple of years, he's been pretty much just sharing verbatim what the A's say with a little pushback or questioning of their logic or their reasoning behind what they say, or if there's any truth to what they're saying. He just kind of takes it as is. But he posted an article with this headline a few days ago on Sunday. It said, 1 year later, A's ballpark plan moving forward, but big questions remain. So this is like the biggest question mark. This is like the first tiny bit of skepticism I can recall seeing from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We kind of hit a lull in A's stadium coverage since the Stadium Authority meeting a couple weeks ago. And they're not going to meet this month, but they're going to meet on July 18th. So, we haven't really heard anything about outside investors or a loan getting lined up or a location being finalized or anything like that. I guess last week's, Jeremy Koo, the lawyer and former writer for Athletics Nation, he pointed out the whole 7 games clause in the non-relocation agreement, which caused a stir, and I think it's just another PR hit for the A's. But other than that, we haven't really heard much concrete news. So this is the first time that Review-Journal has kind of said, hey, they still have a lot of stuff to figure out, but it was still kind of spun in a positive manner. Akers said that they have figured out their architect and that they have figured out Sacramento and that they produce renderings, even though now we know that those renderings are pretty much worthless, as we don't know what the plan is with Bally's on the casino. Bally's doesn't even know what the plan is with the casino. So, but in Sunday's article, Kaval said, quote, things are moving forward. We're crossing off a lot of tasks necessary to get this done. We just keep working day in and day out, working toward that 2025 groundbreaking and the 2028 opening. We're very excited about all the progress that has been made in a year. But again, I'd argue they really haven't made much progress since the public funding has been passed. I mean, sure, they hired an architect and they did those renderings that don't exist, but the location is not finalized. The financing has not been figured out in this 12 months. I mean, I can't believe tomorrow is June 13th is the year anniversary of the reverse boycott, and of course, this is when the bill was going through the Nevada legislature. I can't believe it's already been a year yet. But so it is interesting, though, just to read the headline compared to the headline from a couple weeks ago that they put on top of an AP story that said, Las Vegas officials say A's Strip ballpark timeline will be met. It's just more kind of interesting. Maybe it's the first sign of skepticism or a crack that the Review-Journal is showing towards this project. But of course, Steve Hill is still super positive about this thing. He told Mick Akers, quote, regardless of what anybody thinks, they have to do that by April of next year. He's talking about the A's using their funds. We'll not only have an opinion on that, but that will become a fact at that point. That money is there and that money is available and is the money it will take to get the stadium built. So I read this quote from Steve Hill and it made me go back to SB1 and read SB1. Again, the Senate Bill 1 that was passed by the Nevada legislators last year. And if I'm reading it correctly, I believe the A's need to have a lease and a development agreement signed and approved by December of 2024, because in one section of this SB1 it says the A's have 18 months to present to get a development and lease agreement approved by the Stadium Authority. And if not, the Stadium Authority will lose its authority to negotiate this deal will expire. So I mean, I don't think they'll have to start from square one, but I think they would have to start up something, maybe redraft another bill. I really don't know what this means, but I'm looking at December of this year as kind of a hard deadline for them to get this all figured out. So we're still waiting till July 18th, and a couple months ago during the May meeting, the authority said that they probably won't meet in August, so if it's not July, probably September. But I think December 13th or 15th, around there, is the real hard date for when the A's need to have some sort of development and lease agreement. So the plan is still, they're already demolishing the Tropicana right now. I actually had an A's fan, Self-Flag Steve, send me a selfie. He sent a photo of himself in front of Tropicana, kind of showing how this current state of it this weekend. And so they're demolishing it, and they're gonna do like a big implosion of the towers in October. And I believe the A's plan is to start building next spring. So maybe that's the April date that Steve Hill is talking about there. And it's also worth remembering that the A's have to spend the first $100 million on this project to get it going, according to SB1. So, yeah, I mean, by December, we should really know if this thing is going or not. I mean, again, if they miss that deadline and they could just redo SB1 all over again and change some dates. On Tuesday, Akers also published a harmless update from Cavill. It sounded like it was honestly just like a leftover conversation from this weekend. He just wanted to make a story out of it. He had something to do. And this is about the A's working with Nike designers to get their uniforms ready for Vegas in 2028 already, because things are moving ahead, down there. And this is a quote from Cavill. He said, "We're starting that with Nike and with the league because it takes a couple of years to get that figured out. Our marketing team is working on that." So the A's are working on their Las Vegas jerseys, guys. And I literally think all they're going to do is just put Las Vegas in cursive and keep the colors. So I don't know how this takes multiple years. If they did a completely rebrand, I mean, if they lose the Athletics brand, which I don't think they're trying to do, I think they're trying to hold on to that and all the records and everything. Such a historic franchise. But it's not that complicated, So this really just seemed like a nothing burger to me. And Cavill also said, in Sacramento, we'll be playing with the Athletics across the jersey, home and away. So this year, in the past few years, since they introduced the Kelly Greens, it said Oakland on them. And the Road Grays, of course, always said Oakland on them. But now everything is going to say Athletics. They are a team without a home. These poor guys. Speaking of current Oakland A's, it's been pretty awful lately. I mean, I think they're 3-10 in their past 13 games since late May, but Brent Rooker's still been pretty good since the start of May, and I think he has a chance to be an all-star. He's listed as a DH. At this point, I think Jordan Alvarez is shoo-in, but it does help that Ohtani is in the National League now, so he's no longer in the DH race. So I think Rooker probably going to be the number 2 DH. There's other guys kind of in the running too, like Giancarlo Stanton. He's got a lower average, but he's got more dingers and he's got way more star power. So I think that's going to be Rooker's stiffest competition. But there's some other dudes like David Fry and Ryan O'Hearn who also have, pretty decent numbers too. So right now, as I'm recording this, Rooker's got 13 dingers, 40 RBIs. And he's ranking 5th in OPS and 4th in slugging amongst American League outfielders. But he's listed as a DH here again. And then earlier this week, Rooker talked to Martin Gallegos about joining the All-Star team. And he said, "I'm not going to say I don't care because I'd be lying. It was a great experience last year and I'd love to go back. But my goals are more internally focused things that I know I can control and just let the other stuff go where it may." So Mason Miller, I think for sure, he's the A's. He's going to be the lock. I think that'd be great for baseball to just put Miller up there and for an inning. I think that's what people are going to want to see, this dude pumping heaters against the National League's best. But I think Rooker has a decent shot. And then if you make it 2 years in a row, it's pretty remarkable considering that he just kept getting cut and waived and stuff. I think he spent, was it 21 or 22? He was on 4 different teams. And the A's picked him up off waivers. And now he's found a home and he's looking good. For now, I think, he'll probably get traded at some point, but I think Rooker does have a legit shot at being an all-star this year. So, and last but not least, got to talk about Buster Olney getting hacked. A couple days ago, somebody hacked into Buster Olney's Twitter account. He's got 1.5 million followers, longtime reporter for ESPN, tweeting all this nonsense about the Mets and shared a beat. I think it was just a kid who wanted to share a rap beat that he made. Really random, but the A's were also involved because Buster Olney tweeted that the A's acquired Francisco Lindor from the Mets, which would be hilarious considering he's making a gajillion dollars. But just a fun little thing. I thought it was funny. And this guy clearly hates the Mets. And there was some other funny stuff that he had tweeting out there. But yeah, just a little harmless fun. And I think I'm going to end up every episode with just an update on the sell movement. Last Dive Bar does a great job of kind of collecting all these sell flags along with JVB43 on Twitter. And the sell movement is going worldwide. We've now seen them in Italy, Portugal, what is it, like Scotland, Ireland. Yeah, we got Hannah. She's an A's fan. She works for the Bees now, but she's out in Portugal repping the sell flag. So, sell flag is going international. All right, folks, this has been another Rickey Report. Thanks a lot for listening. I'll be at some Ballers games later this week. Probably not with the camera, probably just for fun. And checking out my boy Mike, the hot dog mayor, the new hot dog guys in town. So, yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content. Again, use the code RickeyBlog at Last Dive Bar. Use my affiliate link down below. And yeah, stay tuned for more A's coverage, Ballers coverage, who knows, Roots and Soul coverage, whatever's going on in the Oakland sports scene. Thanks a lot for listening.